Hello everyone, this is the 12th book in the Dresden Files series, Changes by Jim Butcher. See that? Changes? Dude's not kidding around. This goes completely off the rails and everything's different by the end of this book. So, it ended off in the last one. I was reading the blurb and it said, I got the wrong one sitting here, but that's all right. Harry has a child. And the very first line of this book is, I answered the phone and Susan Rodriguez said, they've taken our daughter. And that's how this begins. Susan Rodriguez started life in these series as a reporter for like a tabloid type of magazine looking into supernatural stuff. And she, followed Harry around wherever she could to get those kind of stories. Eventually she turns into what's called a half vampire in this series, where the vampires have gotten to her, they've changed her, but she is not partaking of human sustenance, and so she has not fully turned. And the flavor of vampire for her, the outer skin that looks human is basically just a husk, and inside is this winged bat looking monster. So she hasn't gotten to that far in her changes. So somewhere along the line, but after she was converted, her and Harry got together, and now she reveals, you got a kid. She's 8 years old. So the thing that got me here was that Harry goes basically insta angry with her, and why didn't you tell me, that kind of thing. But in this case, she had a very, very good reason not to tell him anything. Harry, there's conversations between the two where it's like, it's completely over between us because you didn't tell me, even though they're going to team up throughout the book. But her reasons, as she explains, were quite simple. Death and destruction and injury follows Harry everywhere. In the couple books ago, that one of the Knights of the Cross, who has been injured in several books, to the point where his wife hates Harry, he gets taken completely off the board. He gets all these gunshot wounds that just rip him up, and he's off the board. He can't even wield one of the 3 magic swords. One of the werewolves that he had befriended, killed. Buildings get burnt down. There's a running joke through these books that Harry's good at getting buildings burnt down. And so she has very, very good reason not to reveal this child to him and say, here's your child, let's hang out, because she could wind up getting killed hanging around this guy. And so, but he just doesn't see it that way, and I completely disagree with his character's view on the matter. I agree with Susan wholeheartedly, but she has been taken. She has been taken by the Red Court. The Red Court are the vampire villains in these books. And what are they going to do? They're going to run a ritual where they sacrifice this young girl, and everyone she has a blood relation to instantly dies. It's just not one or two. It's whoever has any kind of relationship, like a chain lightning, just take them all out. And so they're not only trying to prevent her death, they're trying to prevent all of their deaths. So as it goes, if Harry, because of this, he's really, if there's a big difference in his personality, it takes center stage here because he wants that child, and he is just tense and pissed off, and he's grouchier. His apprentice Molly, he basically takes good character and trains her, but good care of her and trains her, but a lot of the times he's very stern and almost kind of a full-on jerk to her. He gets a bit more stern with her in this. He's mouthing off to his friends. He goes, we're gonna do this. This is a deal. And some of them he doesn't tell them right away that it's his daughter, and he's still just, you're just gonna have to do what I say. And he's very difficult to deal with in this book, but he, has at least some right to be tense because his daughter, who he has never seen and met, has been taken. Let's see, what are some of the minor things I can give you? Because I am going to do spoilers. I have to talk about them because it's just a big dramatic ending to this. Along the way, Talking about buildings getting burnt down, Harry does have an office. He has his own apartment, but he has an office. And that office building gets burnt down. He's had a vehicle, not a new one because him and technology, wizards and technology don't mix, so newer cars are going to have trouble operating with him as a passenger or driver or whatever. So it's an old Volkswagen Beetle, patchwork, various repairs at all times. It's got a good mechanic that keeps it running. That gets destroyed, pancaked in this. Even later on, the duster has to get rid of it. He just gets rid of it. There's an ongoing. It had occurred to me to question it. I think it was around book 4 or so. Every cover is basically like this one. Harry's on the cover. He's got the duster. He's got a staff. I think there might be one without it, and he's wearing this hat. Well, there's no hat in the books. And so a lot of the times throughout these books, he makes just unending pop culture references, from Star Wars to Lord of the Rings, you name it, it's in here. Well, it makes a kind of a pop culture reference joke to itself, because at one point a fairy godmother, Harry has a fairy godmother, is trying to get him in some good protection, some armor, and she goes to put a helmet on him, and he takes it off. He goes, "Look, I don't do hats." Oh, ha, ha, ha. On every cover there's a hat, but he doesn't wear a hat. He makes a joke that he's met Bigfoot. In this book, he's trying to get information, and he has a meeting with Odin, father of Thor, so we know that's all real now. There's 3 Knights of the Cross, each one with a magic sword. One, I said, is out of action. That's Michael. One of them got killed. Harry becomes the caretaker of that one sword that he's trying to find the right wielder for, and Murphy is his #1 candidate. And this other guy, this Russian fellow, this black Russian fellow, he shows up in this, and he's good throughout. He's always good for a good laugh, a good charismatic laugh, I should say. See, how much more can I say here? So they have to get together, investigate, find a way. So Harry has to make it's talking about pop culture references. In Star Trek to the Wrath of Khan, there's an exchange in the beginning of the movie, an exchange toward the end, where Spock says the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. At the end, Kirk says the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many. Or actually, that's in 3, actually, when he brings him back. And so there's that in this, where it's Dresden having to possibly sacrifice quite a bit just for the one lady, because this war of vampires versus the wizards. The wizards, they're getting dealt with badly, and one of his fellow wizards says, "You might have to just let her go," not knowing at the time it's his daughter, but still, regardless, you might have to let her go, and just because we got other things we do, we need you here. And Harry's like, "Nope, not doing it, not gonna do it. Her needs outweigh everything else," and he goes on his quest. So I guess I just gotta roll right into this. So I usually try to do semi-spoilers, but this is just full out. It has to be. So the ritual is going to take place in Mexico on a ziggurat. There it is, right there in the background. They're going there, and it is being performed by the vampires and the king of the red vampires. So this is the vampire villain. And Harry, he at one point in the adventures, he breaks his back and he can't move, and he's trying to see who he can call on to get healed, get more power. He's begging anything. Well, he decides to call one of the fairy queens, who he owes favors to anyway. She goes, "Well, you know what you have to do." She has this position called I believe it's just called the White Knight. And he has declined to do this. He doesn't want to be under her thumb, but he sees no other way, and he gives himself to her. But the deal is, he has to finish his quest and get his daughter back first, and then he'll go be with her and be subservient and all that. And she goes, "Good." So he gets healed, and gets everybody together. They head on down. So, what transpires here is a sacrifice traded for sacrifice. The daughter's going to be put on this altar and stabbed and killed, but what we have here is that through Susan Rodriguez, the half vampire, well, because she's half vampire, she is now related to all these vampires. So through a large, drawn-out battle, they get up there to where the sacrifice is going to happen, get the daughter out of the way. Susan is put in place and gives herself up, and she takes the sacrifice. All the vampires destroyed, but Susan is well, and Harry just comes out with his daughter after all is said and done. During the battle, Murphy finally grabs that sword, and she wields it, and it is a huge deal. It's one of the, if not for the sacrifice moment of Susan, this would have been my favorite thing in this book. And she just starts laying waste to vampires. In the end, she does give it up. She goes, I'm not ready for the full commitment. It's just for the one time, but hopefully she's going to see it through, because at the end of this, she is possibly going to be kicked out of her job. So still, at the moment, Harry's got a couple blades that he has to look after. So everybody goes about their separate ways. So Harry, now he's got to, give himself up to the Fairy Queen right at the end of the book. Just pulling no punches here. The idea has been to these books that the relationship between him and Murphy, they just can't quite ever get together themselves, but they do care about each other. They're good friends, but they haven't done anything. Everybody keeps asking, you haven't done the deed? What's going on? What's keeping you? And so at the end, they're all exhausted, and she's like, they're on a boat owned by his brother. And she goes, I'm going to go get drunk and jump some dude that looks healthy in the next bar I can get to. And he goes, well, I'll come with you, meaning he's going to be the guy. And she takes him up on it. So she goes on ahead. He's going to catch up to her. He walks out. Oh, oops, somebody shoots him. And he falls into the water. So the series obviously isn't done yet. He's not dead. He'll continue on. However, the next title is Ghost Story. So I'm assuming that might mean Harry's gonna maybe take a little trip through the afterlife. I don't know. Ghost Story. When an unknown someone shoots him and leaves him to die, Harry Dresden hopes he might be heading to a better place. Unfortunately, being dead doesn't make Harry's life any easier. Of course not. Trapped between life and death, he learns that his friends are in serious trouble. Only by finding his murderer can he save them and move on. A feat that would be a lot easier if he had a body and access to his powers. Uh-oh. Worse still are the malevolent shadows roaming Chicago that are controlled by a dark entity that wants Harry to suffer even in death. Now the late Harry Dresden will have to pull off the ultimate trick without using any magic, or face an eternity as just another lost soul. Okay, so he's dead in this one. Oh, this tombstone, I didn't look at it. Harry Dresden, he died doing the right thing, is what it says on his tombstone. So, yeah, I cannot stress enough just the final drama in this book. I was just exhilarated. I had to stop and, let me eat something, and I got to recover here. So he really hits it. I think there's a previous book, Small Favor, that maybe overall still my favorite, but as far as dramatic endings go, this is one of the, if I have to make top 10 lists of dramatic things that happen in books, that I have to put this on the list. This is incredible how this ended this way. On to Ghost Story next, book number 13. Apparently Halloween, which is tomorrow, that is Harry Dresden's birthday, so happy birthday to the character Harry Dresden. Apparently the book that comes after Ghost Story is a Halloween. There's a previous one that's a Halloween, supposed to take place on Halloween in the timeline of the books, and so the one after this one is the same way. I didn't get to that one in time, I guess. Although I did take a break, so maybe I could have if I hadn't read the other book. So, Ghost Story next. That'll be the next video. Quick little haul here. So I watch a channel called Sci-Fi Scavenger with the host John, who does it. He does it. I love his setup. His setup as far as doing booktubing is something that if I could do things over, I might try to do like he does, the way he does it. If you want to check his channel out. And this came up on his channel. He hasn't read it yet. Natural History by Justina Robinson. This looks like this is going to be some kind of bio-space opera, if I'm reading this right, because this is a living thing with a person's, at least a person's mind in it. I don't know if they're in it physically. I'll have to find out here, but this is sounds very transhumanism in its scope, so we'll get to that eventually. I'm gonna get done with all these Harry Dresden books first, and like I said previously, I thought there was 15 novels out so far. There are actually 17, so if I'm on 13, 14, 15, 16, I got 5 more to go. They're good though, and I can't remember the last time. I certainly haven't read this many books in a series straight through, so and I'm pretty damned picky when it gets right down to it. So if that, you know, says something about these, I hope it does. There you go. That's it. Next video, Ghost Story. Have a good week. See you this weekend. Bye-bye.